What is up? What is up? Welcome back. This is a response part 2 video to my problem with Odin video that I did a couple weeks ago. And I'm not gonna lie, I got some opinions. Not me, but you guys do. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through here. We're gonna read some of these opinions, talk about it, and just go forward from there. I do consider myself a bit more educated on what's going on, and so I thank everyone for their input. And we're just gonna go through and talk about these things. So I have this comment here by Mateo, and I'll make sure I send all of my replies out. So first thing is, I'm not sure I agree with the assessment that Odin community or the maintainers are elitists. I did see the proposal for an official tutorial series. The issue with the way it was presented was that it was basically asking GB to personally take from his free time to create a tutorial series to walk through the Odin language, which I disagree with. Many from the Odin community contribute out of love of the language of the free will and are always happy to help people when they ask it in the Discord. Okay, cool, right? So what I'm getting from this point is that the comment that I made in the video prior essentially is insinuating that he was ignored, and the request that he made was not from someone else from the community to kind of help him out and help him along the way, was from, he was asking the creator of the language to make an official tutorial series. This person disagreed with that take, that he should have done that. I don't know if I have an opinion towards that, because like, I get it. Like if I'm trying to learn something and I'm having a difficulty and there's all these resources, you can ask for help or there's a lack thereof, requesting that resource, simply asking, the worst you can get told is no. Now, this person took it as them being elitist, but other people tend to disagree. We're gonna get into that a bit more in some other comments, but let's kind of keep going. So then I asked the question, do you think the language should even be beginner friendly? Or should there be a lack of resources to make the individual work for it? So what I was getting at in this question is, well, you could obviously read, it's kind of self-explanatory, but like the underlying thing of, do you think this is a language where people need to go and figure it out? You learn Odin by building Odin, which is, if it's a C-type language, then you can kind of use some C-type principles. But if you need to figure out, you need to go build it if you want to figure it out. He said he thinks Odin is actually very beginner friendly as a language for a system language. Certainly it's not Python, but beginners need to understand everything the language has to offer before they can start using it. Bingo. So Odin can be a language where it is utilized via practical application. For learning programming, the best way is always practice, experimentation, and curiosity. I think the lack of resources is temporary. There are a few YouTube channels that did short introductions. I would have to give a recommendation. I would say that beginners learn a lot from watching some streams where someone gets a first-hand impression of the language. Keep in mind that Odin community isn't really trying to market the language beyond check it out and we hope you like it. It's not like Rust, where Rust is trying to replace everything, right? That said, Carl Zelinsky, Zelinsky's tutorial and guides to the language in game development are quite beginner friendly, and that would be one of my recommendations for learning the language. Those are free on YouTube, and while they don't go as in depth as his book, it's a good starting position. I agree with that. That channel is actually a channel I subscribe to. I'll link his channel in the description below. I follow the guide to actually get Odin to work on my Windows PC, and I got it on there. I had to use Sublime Text, some command line stuff, VS to add it to path and things like that, get things like that, but nothing really crazy beyond that. So I said, okay, cool. I said, thank you. I think that it's okay for there to not be a robust amount of resources, that is super beginner friendly. Programming is a challenge, and learning a new technology is all a part of the game. Big thing I'm getting at here is you have a language like Python, where the AI is really, really good at Python, where you can find thousands of code examples because millions of people are coding in Python. Just what it is, or C or C++, whatever. Odin doesn't really have that yet. So you have to actually go and get it. Someone else pointed out, okay, cool. Good points. I saw Odin as a tool when this turns to be a prototype of a tool. Also, please stop redirecting everyone to Discord for the love of God, because all the questions are just dumped there in a big chat. Really hard to search something this way, not to mention it requires you to have an account. Use public forums. Good thing it already exists. I didn't have to beg for a dedicated language forum. View Reddit or GitHub suggestions if possible. So it's kind of a back and forth dialogue. And I asked, is it okay if I did a response video? He said, sure. That is why we're here. All right, if we go to the next one, who's this? Third Eye Blinko. I'm actually gonna move this so you can see me a bit better. And I can see this a bit better than this. Third Eye Blinko says, the language is still in development. All features of the language are demonstrated with the core library or in official demos. C was designed in the 1970s. C++ is mostly C. There's no replacement for either. Odin isn't trying to do that. It's just trying to make C-style programming more enjoyable for the few people who still prefer that style. I think that's a fair take. Elitism is good for development of sophisticated tools. Listening to noobs at this point just introduces a bad idea into the language. Okay. I like that. All SO-Langs assume you already have a basic understanding of computer programming. Odin isn't unique in this regard. If you don't know manual memory management with pointers, you don't know the basics of computer programming. That's fine, but an alternative to C obviously expects that level of knowledge. So, take it. What I'm seeing from Third Eye here is that the language is still new. Because it is a systems level language, so it's a low level language. In order to get in this language, you have to, this can't be your first language. This isn't like Python. You can't just walk in off the street and jump straight into this language thinking that you're gonna have all of the resources you need to go from, I don't know how a computer works, to building games in this language. So I think I see what you say about that. And then the things you said were a problem are not really important at this point in development. If you want to understand Odin better, right now, learn C first. Maybe someday there will be truly beginner resources for Odin, but there is still core language development that needs to be sorted out first. I replied, do you want there to be truly beginner-friendly tutorials? And I said, I understand now. You're saying that because Odin has a specific use case, there won't be as much support. That's what I'm kind of trying to figure out. Is that because there are a couple of problem sets and a couple of styles that Odin fits, is there not going to be as much chit chat about it? He said, I don't know. If you got my other response, it's not visible to me, or maybe you don't believe it. That's partially true. But also, Odin would probably never have 1/10 of the backing or support that a language like Rust has. Odin is truly homegrown in that sense. What we're getting at here is that corporations are not pushing Odin. Companies and programmers, your big tech influencers aren't pushing Odin. They're pushing Rust for performance and safety and things like that. Okay, cool. Next, and then you said the Odin community are elitist. Damn. Try Zig community. Even Andrew himself is hostile to me. He even blocked me on Twitter when asking him a legit question. So I tend to be careful with comments like this, and I like to dig more and ask questions, because now we're subjecting words like hostile. We gotta kind of figure that out. So I wasn't aware of that. What do you mean by hostile? I have some experience with that. He was asked about a compiler option to not treat basic warnings as critical errors, like unused variables, since it helps with the development. He rejected such notions completely and utterly under some reason like, I don't like to read such Zig code, when no one mentioned it would be about his experience. Again, I feel like that's paraphrasing, but again, he presented a problem and apparently that problem was shot down. I replied, I see what you're saying. Then who is this? The Sego84. The unused variable error was such an annoying thing when working with Zig, and you're in the exploration phase of coding. So essentially saying that you have this error you can't get past, and you're still trying to figure the language out. So it can probably be some frustrations, and you probably, yes, not only that, there's the variable that should be a constant and functions with unused returns and so on and so forth, which can be used in equal sign anywhere after commenting some code so ugly, so disruptive. So they had a little back and forth about that. A big one that I looked at I think that is all of them, but I don't think so as well. Let me jump in here. Okay, cool. Let's go to this one, all right? I first learned JavaScript. And I wanted to make games, so I tried C++. Did one project in it, loved and hated it, then tried Odin, loved it. So almost everything from C++ transferred over. It was just so smooth compared to C++. My advice for anyone beginning trying to learn any low-level language is that most important thing is to figure out memory management. This stuff, like stack the heap pointers, how the CPU cache works, and how RAM works, all these concepts are basically the same in all languages: Odin, C, C++, SIG. Even in Rust, if you don't understand these concepts, you will struggle. Unseemingly, the true problem with learning Odin is that all the good info about these concepts is scattered around the internet. All other languages are practically the same. This is why people are still using C. All that a different language will get you is different syntax. The convenience is that the only exception is Rust. It makes you trade some control for a bit of safety. Less control may lead to a small speed loss in some applications. P.S. Odin has some of the best documentation out there. The website has an overview section. It's so much good info in it. You should read it top to bottom. Also, the packages have great documentation. If you have a question, you should join the Discord and use the search feature. Then if it hasn't been answered yet, ask it. I have asked many stupid questions in there and everyone has been polite. The GitHub has a bunch of beginning examples in it and they are high quality. I recommend you take a look at them. If you have not programmed in a lower level language before, you will get stuck on some things because there are just less people using it, but solving a problem by yourself is the best teacher out there. Fair enough. Very much fair enough. But yeah, that's kind of how you guys responded with this. I think that I would consider myself a bit more educated on the fact of the matter. I think that I finally actually got Odin to work, so I'm gonna follow you guys' advice and kind of just go through and learn Odin. I do have a book on C#, but that wasn't mentioned here. So C or C++ is probably something I should dabble in first as a dabble in Odin, but I'll kind of take my time with that. So I'll be doing an update video probably next week on what I built as far as this is concerned, and then we will kind of just play along from there. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'll see you in the next one. Holla back, your boy.